and welcome to the Weightlifting.ai podcast. I'm your host, Max Ada. This is Josh Gibson. That's all you need to know about him. How are you doing, Josh?
Well, this is a slightly painful intro.
Painful because of company at hand. Actually, this is an interesting episode because we're actually doing a video episode again, like we've done in the past, because, as you can tell, we're in the same place. Where are we, Josh?
We're at Max's gym in Oakland.
That's right.
Not in Emeryville. We're in Oakland proper.
Yeah, we've moved. The gym's moved. Now we have a much bigger space. We used to be in a tiny storage unit, basically.
That's what it felt like.
It was about 800 square feet. Actually, when we moved out, I found out it was actually like 600 square feet. And we now have a space. The gym floor itself is, I think it's about 2,000 square feet here. And then right above us is the office for Weightlifting.ai. So that's where the developers reside. That's where I am basically every day. And yeah, it's been cool.
Well, you made a point, and I think this is a great observation. As you said, can you believe that we fit all of this stuff into that small space?
Yeah.
And if you guys were able to see the gym, everything's set up, and it takes up the entire 2,000 plus square feet.
Yeah.
Like it looks like it's a full gym. There's shit everywhere, and you cram that into 600 square feet.
Yeah, it's actually really impressive how much space we got all that stuff into. And like you said, because now we actually have way more space, but it's like it doesn't even feel like it. I mean, it's way bigger, it's way more open, but yeah. We actually have one of the AI campers training here in the background, so ignore the sounds, totally fine. Something that I guess we're gonna talk about today is the Weightlifting.ai camp that we're hosting, the first ever camp for the app users.
First of many.
Yeah. So this is something that I feel like, I don't know if it happens a lot anymore or not as much, but training camps, I feel like we're bigger. We did a bunch when I was at JTS, we did a bunch of camps, and that was a ton of fun. Everyone comes in and you go and train, and it's sort of like, the camps are two things. One, it's like, it's a chance for everyone to get some coaching on them, eyes on them, get some technique help and feedback, but it's also kind of like more just like a community thing to everyone having a good time. And you were just asking me like, okay, how do you actually go from like the app to the camp? Like as far as workouts go and what we're gonna do. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. I think my take on it, your take on it, and what our plans are gonna be for this, but also, just like the community building aspect of everybody being here and sharing, this kind of like-minded sort of experience.
Well, and this is the Weightlifting.ai podcast, and
that's true. You know where you are, both physically and emotionally now.
Yeah, I do. I feel at one. You showed me the coaching platform, or you showed me the early stages of what is
the design Figma, the Figma docs for the coaching platform.
And I don't know if anyone listening has any conception of what that would actually look like. Like you've explained it, but to imagine is really tough. To see it, it's so cool. And it's going to be really, really cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that because that's kind of the thing I wanted to build from day one years ago. Is this like platform to deliver better tools to coaches. Like for me, it's like, you can do the like spreadsheets and Coach Now, like 10 different things and piece it together and do the job fine. But like to me, it's like none of that makes your job, like it doesn't give you tools or insights that are helping you.
Right.
It's just like, hey, here you go. Like, throw 5 apps together and a collection of it. And then all the weak points in that chain are going to be the areas you do a poor job of. So the goal is obviously, we have a lot of stuff in store, but the goal is to make that the kind of thing that really becomes like a very powerful tool for athletes and coaches to use. And, it just augments your ability to be a good coach. So you're not stuck in a place where like, you don't know something. And so, I don't do that because I don't know about it. Right?
You never want, as a coach, the bottleneck to be, I can't figure out something in Excel. Like the bottleneck to being a better coach is that I can't operate the software, the platform, and it's like I can't put everything learned from the podcast or from books or from mentors or time training. It's like I actually can't use that because I don't have the functionality of True Coach or Train Heroic or Excel to actually put it into practice. And that's like, that's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, yeah, I mean, the final point on it is like the goal of the coaching platform is to do a lot of this detailed work that no one else is doing and give it to a coach in a presentable way so we can track an enormous amount of data and do valuable things with the data you can act on. Not just say, oh, you can track metrics in your, what was it, Ollie lifting, the True Coach post?
Your Ollie lifters.
Your Ollie lifters.
Actually part-time as skateboarders too.
But yeah, so I'm excited. That's cool that you saw it. Obviously, a ton of design work to do on there, but we have a lot of people we're going to work on it with. So as far as that goes, though, back to the training camp. This is going to be a fun weekend. It's only a couple of days, so it's a small one. But yeah, I think something you had talked about is, or you had asked a question was, what is the difference? Like, what do you do in a camp? Someone's got a program they're running and then they come to this camp. And there's a balance for sure. Like we've kind of talked about this yesterday and today is like, what exactly do we want to do? You don't want to make a camp something that's like not fun. Like you don't want to go in and be like, oh, we're just going to do technique work for 7 days in a row.
What's your program say? We'll just do that.
Yeah, just do that.
Not fun.
Yeah, you want to have a session where you get a chance to like get exposed to some heavy lifts with a ton of energy in a nice environment.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you want to do something where you actually can benefit from what you've learned. So you can watch some people lift and then do something with that that's actionable. So people can learn like, oh, there's some new cues or something to figure out or a way to lift that I didn't, understand before. So balancing those is kind of important. I think the easiest way to sort of run these things is to be a little bit more like free form with it, relaxed, and say like,
I think so.
Let's have a session where we go kind of heavy-ish, like 85 or 90%. And then from there, we have a baseline of what is, worth working on. And then we can sort of give out exercises and then all break into groups and practice that stuff.
One, I think for people who haven't been to a camp or haven't done a camp before, having done one with Glenn, that was, I think it was 10 days and it's double days and it's pretty much it's like, we'll go to the gym and do something light and then you end up maxing out. You'd be surprised by what you can handle and how you can perform. And like you start to get pretty beat up, but it actually takes a little bit longer than you think and your performance is a lot better because you have new people, new places, kind of like new competition, but like things that are exciting and things that are motivating.
Yeah.
And that's why I think camps are so much fun. Yeah. It's because you don't realize what you can do until you're in that environment.
Exactly. Yeah. So basically, the camp's gonna just be like fucking 4 max out sessions. 2 hours. 2.5
hours.
Yeah. 2.5 hours of snatch, 30 minutes of clean and jerk, like the classic.
Cal Strength program.
Yeah. 2010 to 2016 Cal Strength. This is like a John North program. 3 hours of snatching and then like 8 minutes of clean and jerks. Yeah. You work up to like 150, make it, it's kind of soft elbows, take 160, miss the jerk, then do a clean at 170, and then Clark 180. And that was like every clean and jerk workout. Yeah, every clean and jerk workout. It's the same thing. So it'll be good. I think it's gonna be exciting. I'm most excited, one, to meet everybody, but also to like actually put some of this stuff into practice, like. Show people how the app functions, get their opinions on stuff, get feedback as to like, hey, what features are shitty or where's the app terrible, and how we can move forward, because it's, we do a lot with people in the community. Those people are responsive and they talk to us a lot and we learn that way, but it's different than when you actually like hear someone describe what how they use the app or what they do with it. When we talked to Hunter earlier today, about everything, but we talked about the app, and like he explained his understanding of it, and it's like it's definitely more advanced than someone who maybe's never done weightlifting or maybe just like 6 months in, right?
He's an abnormal person when it comes to weightlifting.
That's the understatement. He's an abnormal person on all fronts.
Yeah, all fronts. Yes.
No, but like it's like his understanding is advanced enough that he can be like, oh, I get what I'm trying to do, and so he can make adjustments and he plays with the features. Newer people maybe don't get it, or they don't have that confidence to like push this button or do that or whatever. So, the goal is to just make it a good experience here, get everyone in to train and enjoy it, and then, learn what we can learn from it. But also, we'll take away lessons from this camp and make the next one better.
Yeah.
Where should we do the next one?
Ooh, that's a great question. Are we doing it on the West Coast?
Not West Virginia.
Oof.
That's the one place we're not allowed. We're never doing it.
We have to do it there.
Actually,
you don't want a pepperoni roll?
That's West Virginia.
It's a delicacy.
The pepperoni roll. If you look at a food pyramid, right, and you look at the food pyramid, each layer, the pepperoni roll in West Virginia, it's just on the side of the pyramid because it covers all of the food groups.
It does.
Right?
Well, the thing is, you go to West Virginia and they ask you, have you tried a pepperoni roll? And it's like, what do you mean? It's like, have you tried a pepperoni roll? You mean bread with pepperoni and cheese baked inside?
No. It's a pepperoni roll.
Ah, that's right. When you combine all the ingredients, it's the whole sum is greater than the parts.
Yeah, it has all the food groups that the West Virginians know, which is pepperoni
just
and a roll.
Without Mountain Dew. And fentanyl, but
it's a classic West Virginia. The West Virginia Thanksgiving dinner, I believe, is it's a pepperoni roll, Mountain Dew Code Red, and a little bit of fentanyl.
Yeah.
My thought for the next camp that I think would be fun to do would be in the UK.
Oh,
I think
really
there's
fun.
a lot of UK users. We could use the Weightlifting House facility. They have some platforms there.
Yeah.
It would be the kind of thing that would be fun because then everyone could come there and meet Seb and Dan Kent, the real face of Weightlifting House.
The real face of Weightlifting House.
But you could create this sort of same kind of thing we have here, and that would be fun because then you could have a chance to actually get some people from overseas. You're not going to fly to this.
I think in the UK you get so much of Europe just so close to that. Mm-hmm. Versus in California, it can be hard for a lot of people to make it because the US is so big. Yeah. And I think I think a central location in the US could be kind of bland. So you almost have to do a coast.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe we could do NORAD. You think they'll let us use NORAD?
What's that?
NORAD's the secret Air Force base in Colorado that is the place where the president would go if the nuclear war started.
Well, if you tell them we're doing,
I feel like they'd let us. I just asked them hey, is it cool? Can we rent that out for a weekend? That's not a bad idea. We could go and rent a hotel somewhere, a ballroom.
Really cool.
Yeah, we'd have to charge in that case to cover the cost.
Yeah,
but it wouldn't be a bad idea to do something like that.
I think as you do more of these, charging to get more people and better accommodations, it just makes sense too.
Yeah. So that's the goal. Camp's going to go on this weekend, Sunday, Monday. Today's Saturday. And then, we're going to try to do all that. We're going to try to make it a great experience. If any of you guys are watching that are not coming to this camp, obviously, shoot us some recommendations where you'd want to do it and maybe what your thoughts are as far as what you'd want to see at a camp that would be kind of interesting.
When I think the thing about the camp, and I think this is just, I wish I saw this more, but really good coaching as someone walks in, they have a program, and you say, what are you doing? We're doing 5 doubles. It's okay, we'll see how you look. We'll make some modifications. We'll make some adjustments. Getting a big group to come in here and then, have a few days with 2 sessions a day. What does go through your head when you're thinking about okay, how could I accommodate this to get the most out of the training, to get the most out of the person, but without just being ridiculous, right?
I mean, the biggest thing is it's your goal is to try to get the most productive training volume you can in. Mm-hmm. And a big part of that is let's identify what's the primary weakness and then find a movement that's going to address that and really work at that. And, for the most part, it's going to be, for some people, pretty obvious, do, whatever, hang snatch or no hook, no feet or something. But for others, it's if your technique's solid, then it's more of well, what can we get out of this person today? You're in an environment, I don't know how many people are training alone or training at home, training in their bedrooms, several, maybe one. That gives you a different sort of vibe when you're at a gym with a bunch of people, and it's just more exciting. And so definitely finding the right movements, the right cueing, and the right exercise. But then also, can we maximize the amount of training we're doing by maybe going a little bit lighter, but spending more time on technique in the mornings. Evening time, we go a little harder and try to turn that into something, and push a little bit harder.
Well, and to your point, I think even just seeing someone in person versus seeing them on videos, there's something about how you pick up the bar speed differently.
Yeah.
It's like a feel of the lift, a sound of the lift.
And the smell.
Yeah, I mean, when you're that close, you really get a lot of the
Yeah,
the
that's
smell.
my biggest fear of the camp, is that there's maybe some smellier folks.
Is that excluding you?
Yeah, well, I mean, or me. I don't want to smell bad in front of everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to try really hard on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think you drink enough coffee to cover up any potential smell.
The bourbon really should temper any of the body odor.
Now, the bourbon you drink during training or before training?
Well, it takes the edge off.
Oh, gotcha.
Every good weightlifting coach is always, they've always got a little bit of a little flask in there, you know?
Oh, so when people start missing lifts, you just hit the flask.
Yeah, well, it's the only way to deal with the immense stress that a weightlifting coach has to deal with.
Embarrassment.
Picture this. You're at the American Open Series 1 J session. Your lifter, first
you paid
up.
$500 to lift there, by the way.
Yeah, it's $2,000 to get there, all in $2,000. You're there watching your lifter warm up. They take their first and last warm up, all in once, 45 kilos, press out.
Yeah.
What do?
Flask.
You open your trench coat, because you're obviously wearing one. You pull that flask out. You take a little sniff, then you move on. You can handle the rest of the day. If Matt Siccio is watching this, I don't actually do that anymore.
Well, he's seen us at nationals. He would think.
I think he watches all the podcasts. He told me he follows everybody.
He's a huge fan.
He said he's a huge
fan.
fan.
USA Weightlifting wants to sponsor us, but
he said, Mark, look, you're a good guy, and I really appreciate all the stuff you do for weightlifting.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's my existence. So so overall, I don't even know where I was going.
Well, someone walks in, you're getting a sense of how they lift, right? Whether that's like, we call them weaknesses, but whether that's weaknesses, strengths, tendencies, how they normally train, right? And then how they get used to the feel of having a ton of different people in the same space doing the same thing. Do you use that first session to gauge? Or are you already saying with Hunter, like, your hips shoot up, you get loose off the floor, this is what we're going to try to do?
Someone you've seen before. We coached Hunter at Nationals, so like we understand like what he's going to do. You've seen him lift before in the community as well.
Yeah.
So you kind of know like, all right, work on this, and maybe it's more just a matter of like making it a positive experience and giving a few things that like, try this as a primer, or try this as a, try adding some sets to your squats, or, do these instead, right? Where it's like, that's kind of largely what all this process is anyways. It doesn't matter if I'm writing the program, the app's writing the program, you're writing the program, like all the same kind of mechanics of trial and error still apply, gives people some feedback. To your point though, like a lot of it is trying to figure out like what is the weakest link, and it's not always just like some coaching cue or some, exercise. It might be that it's like, hey, you need to learn how to brace properly, or you need to like figure out how to like, deal with this thing.
Pressure off the floor, keep a strong start.
Simple things that are just kind of like you don't grasp from a video or just from people describing. Like, I missed forward. Like, there's a lot of reasons for that.
Well, we had that mentorship call. Yeah. And we were talking about kind of watching someone do a lift and trying to program away weaknesses.
Right.
And you realize that like over a 12-week training block, nothing changed. Their technique looks the same. Yeah. And you will run into that. I mean, as a coach, like I've coached many people where we had a technical focus, and for some reason their problem didn't change.
Yep.
And then you see it in person, you're like, oh, okay. Like, let's try to work on this, adjust this, and you troubleshoot a lot more quickly.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you can make those adjustments. And I think that's kind of the difference of like, you can pick exercise, you can put theory to practice, but sometimes it doesn't pan out until you have them right here and you say, let's start to play around with it and actually, trial out a bunch of different approaches and exercises.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like, you and I have had so many conversations about process and theory and these things. And then like, it's funny because we talk about these things, and sometimes we talk about it on such a nuanced level or niche level where it's like, it's almost like we become like despondent, like nothing matters, it doesn't matter if you do this or that because the details, we're just so like,
just train hard.
Yeah. Or you get to this point where you're like, the details are so overwhelming that like, you can't possibly, this doesn't matter. But then when you get in person and you're actually coaching, you start to realize like there's this whole other level to it, which is just getting someone to achieve something. You could miss a lift 5-6 times and make it on the final one, and it's still a beneficial session.
Yeah.
And so those kind of things, like that kind of like, it's like, it's not something.